Welcome to Reform Thinking. You know, there's this incredible argument in C.S. Lewis's Mere Christianity that we're going to unpack today. It's this idea that sometimes pretending to be something is the very first step to actually becoming it. To get us started, Lewis tells two little stories that really set the stage.
Right. First up is a story we all know, Beauty and the Beast. The girl has to marry this monster, but here's the key. She kisses him as if he were a man. It's an act of pretense, but that very act is what turns him into a real man. Her action literally changed his reality.
And then he gives another example. It's about a man who wears this beautiful mask, one that makes him look much kinder than he actually is. He wears it for a whole year, and when he finally takes it off, his real face has grown to fit the shape of the mask. As Lewis says, what had begun as disguise had become a reality.
So using these stories as a launchpad, Lewis builds a really practical case for the Christian life. We're going to follow his train of thought through 5 stages. We'll start with the 2 kinds of pretending, then move to the discovery of our own nature. After that, we'll look at what he calls dressing up as Christ, then God's role in all this, and finally, how the tin soldier becomes real.
Okay, so first things first, Lewis isn't just saying all pretending is good. His whole argument rests on a really important distinction he makes right at the start between 2 very different kinds of pretending.
Exactly. On the one hand, there's a bad kind of pretending. This is when the pretense is there instead of the real thing. Think of someone who says they'll help you but has no intention of doing it. But then there's a good kind of pretending, where the act actually leads up to the real thing. Like, if you act friendly when you're feeling grumpy, you might find you actually start to feel a bit friendlier. The action pulls the feeling along with it.
So, when you take this idea of good pretense and try to apply it to your Christian walk, it leads to a pretty startling discovery about yourself. Lewis says this is the first big light bulb moment.
And what you discover is this: the root of the problem isn't just the things you do wrong, it goes deeper. The real issue is your very nature. It's about what you are.
Lewis uses his really vivid picture for this. He says if you're suddenly provoked and you snap at someone, the situation didn't create your bad temper, it just revealed it. He puts it this way: the rats of resentment and vindictiveness are always there in the cellar of my soul. The surprise just opens the cellar door for a second.
Well, that brings up a huge question, doesn't it? If we can't change our own fundamental nature just by trying harder, then what are we supposed to do? Where do you even begin?
And this is where Lewis gets so practical. He says the starting point is a specific act of that good kind of pretending. He calls it dressing up as Christ.
So, for instance, when a Christian prays the Lord's Prayer, those first 2 words, Our Father, put you in the position of a son of God. You are, as Lewis bluntly says, dressing up as Christ. Now, he knows this can feel like outrageous cheek because we're so aware that we're not like Christ. But, as he points out, Christ himself told us to do it.
And the moment you have that thought, here I am dressing up as Christ, it kicks off this immediate process of self-correction. You start noticing all the thoughts that just don't fit with that role, and you feel the need to shut them down. Or maybe you realize you need to stop praying for a minute and go write that apology letter or help with the dishes. The pretense itself starts pushing you toward the reality.
Now, after you've taken these first few steps, Lewis says a second, even bigger discovery happens. The focus completely shifts away from what we're doing and turns to what God is doing.
And the discovery is simply this: you realize that it's God who does everything. Any real, deep change in our souls, only He can do it. Our part, as Lewis says, is at most to allow it to be done to us.
So, in a way, God is the one who initiates the pretense. Lewis imagines God looking down at a person and saying, "Let us pretend that this is not a mere creature, but our son."
And this divine make-believe keeps going. God sees that this person is human, and since Christ also became human, they are alike in body. So he says, let us pretend that it is also like him in spirit. God is choosing to treat us as if we were something we are not, yet.
So why does God do this? His reason is straightforward. Let us pretend in order to make the pretense into a reality. It's not a game. It's a creative act. He treats the lesser thing as if it were the greater thing, for the very purpose of making it so.
This brings us to the final piece of Lewis's argument, the outcome. What happens when God's divine make-believe really starts to take root in a person's life?
While the real Son of God, Christ himself, is right there with you, working to turn your pretense into his reality. Lewis describes it as Christ injecting his kind of life, his Zoe, into you. He's turning the tin soldier into a live man. Any part of you that's still fighting against him is just the part that's still tin.
And Christ works on us in all kinds of ways, through nature, through our own bodies, through books, and Lewis even says through experiences that might seem anti-Christian. But he says that, above all, he works on us through each other.
Yeah, he even throws some interesting math at this. He says, when two Christians are together, you don't just get twice as much Christianity, you get 16 times as much. It's a staggering thought, and it really drives home why the church, the body of Christ, showing Christ to one another is so critical.
And then Lewis just wraps up the whole argument with this one powerful sentence. God looks at you as if you were a little Christ. Christ stands beside you to turn you into one. It's a perfect summary. God's loving perspective and Christ's active work, together turning the disguise into the reality.
So we'll leave you with the question that this whole line of thought points to. If it's really God who does everything, then what does it truly mean for us to allow this work to be done in us? It's definitely something worth thinking about.